All right. So it's been a second since we've heard from you, Swan. How have you been?
I've been good. Thought I was just kind of mad chilling in the game, but I think chill mode might be over. I think it's time to step up and start playing. We're about to enter jury phase two, hopefully. So, if there's a time to wake up and really start playing harder, now's the time.
Okay, okay. So last time we spoke, I think it was like a bit after the whole tie eviction had occurred.
Yes.
Um, so since then we've had, Kathy had to walk from the game, Clash was expelled. Like, how do you feel like those events had affected your game moving forward?
Both of those sucked because Kathy was somebody that I thought I was going to work really well with. I really liked her energy. I was looking forward to playing with her. Um, so that was a bummer. And then Clash and I had somehow gotten kind of close during his last days in the house. And I was having a lot of fun with him. And I think I was one of a few people that he actually trusted and was confiding in. Like he literally made an alliance with me and Leah. So I feel like those definitely weren't great for me because those were two people that could work with me, and especially Clash because Clash was going to work with me and also be like a continued target going forward. So it's a bummer, but also at the same time, the way I play these games is I build a network of relationships so that if at any time I lose somebody that is good for my game, I still have plenty of others to fall back on. Um, and so that's kind of what worked out here is that even without Clash and Kathy, I managed to have other allies kind of step up and have my back when I needed them this week.
All right. So going into cycle three, Hunter wins the HOH, and he ends up nominating Hex and Z's as initial noms. How'd you feel when Hunter had won? Did you feel like safe? Did you feel like had you collaborated with him on the noms? How'd you feel about the noms and all of that?
Some of these questions you already know the answer to, but I'm gonna say, um, so Hunter winning wasn't ideal, but it also wasn't, in my opinion, like the worst case scenario. I was most worried about Danielle or Robin, because Robin, I know he's a bit sneakier, and I could tell a shift in his energy that something up with him. So I was very worried that if Robin were to win HOH, he would very well be targeting me. It was kind of weird. I understand that they were on the block, but I thought it was odd that Hunter and Robin gunned so hard for the HOH when in reality, like Robin, especially, having the Vets Alliance and the Angels Alliance had connections with most people in the house. So I was definitely more worried about Robin than Hunter. Hunter just comes across to me as kind of like less plotty, schemy, sneaky. I kind of, well, felt like he was somebody I could probably take more at face value. I don't necessarily think that's the case anymore, but so wasn't thrilled about Hunter winning, but at least I was like, I have that alliance with him, so hopefully he'll stay true to that, which he did for the initial noms. However, the problem was he didn't consult our alliance. He didn't consult many people individually, as far as I know, and especially not me, who's supposed to be an ally of his. And I mean, my thing is, and I've talked with Ari and Vlyn quite a bit about this, at least fucking bullshit me, gas me up, at least pretend to care about my opinion. Like it's just bad game form to not even keep up appearances with people. Like last night when I was talking with Hunter, we were talking game and stuff, and I'm bullshitting the fuck out of him, but I'm keeping up appearances, and the fact that he didn't even do that raised major red flags for me. So I was definitely worried as soon as the noms came out because there was absolutely no discussion of them with me or anyone in the alliance or at all in the alliance chat. And then he also put up two of my allies from my other opposing alliance, which wasn't great. But also, I realized that those were fair nominations for him because they were outside of our core group.
All right. So going into the veto, you, Nathan, Vlyn are all drawn. Um, So you end up performing pretty well on the veto. Do you feel like you were really gunning for it? And what do you think you would have ended up doing had you had won?
Yeah, the veto was tricky. I didn't want to win, but I had known that my HOH performances haven't been great. That's why I've been a have not 3 weeks in a row. So I really wanted to like a high effort throw, basically, if that makes sense. Obviously, in hindsight, that wasn't the wisest decision, and I should have known. However, I will say part of me having known that Zeeves had that power to name the renom, I kind of knew like in the back of my head, like I didn't have to win because if veto was used and a backdoor on me or one of my allies was attempted, Zeeves would be able to name the renom. So I definitely wasn't gunning for it. I also knew Vlyn was gunning for it, so I was comfortable throwing, knowing that Vlyn is capable and as we see, like won the veto. So I certainly don't mind that outcome, but I did want to give a throw. I did want to throw, but I also wanted a throw that made it seem at least like I put in effort. And at the same time, I also kind of was in a position where like I don't mind at the end of the day if I end up winning, and I would have used it on Zeeves. Um, I didn't mind because, like I said, I had two of my other allies on the block, and Hunter kind of proved himself not trustworthy and not ally-like after making his nominations without even consulting me. So that's part of why it wasn't the hardest throw either, was because at the end of the day, if I did end up winning, I wasn't going to care all too much.
All right. And with the auditions that week, Nathan had you had tried to gun for the sponsorship, but Nathan ends up edging you out. And Zeeves ends up getting a punishment that week. How'd you feel about the results of the auditions?
That was a bummer, especially because I didn't hear anybody talking about giving tokens to Nathan. I was basically trying to take advantage of my position in the game with these two alliances. I kind of figured I could ask for tokens from people from both alliances. And that way, when I got a bunch of tokens, it wouldn't look too suspicious because it's like, well, you know, our allies gave it to me, and I could tell them I gave a bunch to myself too. So that was sort of my plan. Obviously, that didn't work out because Nathan had more. Allegedly, he gave 90 to himself, which I'm like, well, that's silly because that's almost all of your tokens. But also at the same time, um, that also raises my eyebrows because I'm like, then he at least had the help of one other person, if not more. And I'm curious who that is, considering I have an alliance at that point, had an alliance with everybody in the house except for Nathan and Danielle, meaning that somebody in one of the two alliances I had was not being completely honest about where their tokens were going. And it would have been really nice to get a power. Allegedly, I already got told what Nathan's power is, and it's something about like just changing the comp to like an older comp. So it's not really too powerful, but there's also a chance that he could be lying about that. So definitely would have preferred to have it in my hands just so I could be sure that what it is and that I have control over it. But also at the end of the day, maybe it's fine that I don't have it because that can always create a bigger target. But I am trying to play a more out there game than I typically play. So I mean, I haven't been doing that so far, but trust me that I want to be. And that's kind of why this week I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go for tokens. I'm kind of in this cute position. Why not take advantage of that? And obviously it didn't work out, but at the end of the day, that's fine.
Sounds good. So Lynn wins the veto, of course, pulls down Hex. Zeeves goes into sequester, names Danielle as the Renom, and now we have Danielle Zeeves on the block. So, was there any like point in the campaign where you felt like you're in the voting process where you felt like your vote might have went a different way than it ended up going?
No. I mean, let's be real. Like, I partially orchestrated this entire situation to get Danielle on the block and out of the game. There's really no universe in which I would have voted to keep her, unless she was against like Robin or somebody at that point. So, because what I guess I should like fill in here is that what I found out while trying to figure out what we were going to do with Flynn's veto, Zeeves comes to me and tells me that Hunter, or not Hunter, Robin is campaigning for me to be backdoored, which obviously would require Hunter to be the one to nominate me, which I kind of like like I kind of hinted at before, kind of felt like Robin was up to something, and this seems very much what he was up to. So that just sort of confirmed my suspicions and meant even more that we needed to get Danielle out because she's a number for Robin, and I don't really know for who else. So that's why I sort of brought my various allies together, Vlyn with the veto, Zeeves with the power, bringing them together to get Danielle up on the block so that she could stay over Zeeves. Because at this point, Zeeves is one of my top allies. He's my top ally outside of my core trio, the A list. And so I desperately needed him safe and also needed numbers for Robin out. And also, I just knew that Danielle would never be beneficial for my game. So I never really considered going the other way.
All right. So, based on what you're saying, so if things had worked out that the nomination stayed the same, you would have definitely wanted Hex to leave there.
Yeah, if Noms had stayed the same, I would have preferred Hex just because Zeeves and I have a more consistent relationship game wise. Like we just talk more. But Hex and I had a really good conversation today. So I'm looking forward to sort of building that relationship up more. But that's also definitely why I wanted Veto used because I wanted to protect both of them and get out somebody that I'm not aligned with. But yeah, unfortunately, had Nom stayed the same, I would have been pushing for Hex to go over Zeeves.
Okay. And a large part of, Danielle's campaigning is she really felt like she was a new player, that the veterans are going to be like an issue. Did any of that raise anything for you, or did you feel like she was most, or you didn't think that had much merit?
It doesn't really matter too much to me. I think I understand it from her perspective because she's like, from my understanding is she's like a brand new player to orgs in general, whereas most of the rest of us have been around the block and played a bunch. So I'm not too concerned about quote unquote veterans having more game experience because at the end of the day, almost everybody on this cast has a bunch of org experience. All of us some of us have some of us have won Big Brother orgs before, and so I'm not really too threatened by people being veterans of this specific org. I think more my worry would be if they're working together, but I think from the dynamics and the way things played out this week, it's very clear that the four of them are not united, and also Vlyn and Zeeves are two of my closest allies, and they're two of the veterans. So I'm not really concerned about a veteran coalition sort of being used to go against me because those are two people that I really trust that also really trust me. So I don't think that the vets are a threat to me personally. That being said, obviously Robin is a threat to me, but that has absolutely nothing to do with him being a vet. It just has to do with him being a little sneaky, shady little Robin.
Okay, so let's get into this Robin thing. So, what's going on with you guys' dynamic?
Um, a whole lot of bullshit, a lot of bullshitting to each other. He's also kind of like avoiding talking to me a bunch, which is interesting. It sucks because in the first couple days of the game, I felt like we got along really well. We were having so much fun. I mean, he's such a funny guy. I really like him. I just don't trust his gameplay, and I could tell after the vote flip on Ty that the dynamic very much changed and he seemed to not trust me as much even though he like kind of came to me and apologized for getting upset. I do feel like sort of at a certain point there's not really coming back from a situation like that, and the rumors about this round sort of just proved that he's definitely gunning for me. He's calling me a major threat to people, talking about how socially connected I am. And I mean, like, he's not wrong, but it's also too early to come for me for those reasons. Like, come on, let me thrive a little. Let me be a shield. Let me be a threat. So I definitely don't trust Robin at all in this game anymore. He's my number one enemy. The only reason I would target Hunter over him is that Hunter has done better in competitions, but I'm finally going to be gunning for HOH and I will be putting them up on the block. And before that, though, getting as much information as I possibly can on that whole situation. But at this point, I've heard from Zeeves that Robin was trying to get me backdoored. Hex confirmed it, and Nathan confirmed to me that Hunter was potentially trying to backdoor me. So at this point, I've heard it from enough people, and some of those people I really trust. And so I have no choice but to be against them in this game. And I guess until one of us has to like call the shots and make and take a shot at each other, we're just gonna be fake bullshit nice and doing all this bullshit that y'all can see in Kathy's Angels where we're like pretending to work together, which is like really annoying, but like whatever, I'll do it. I don't care.
Okay, so what are your strategies for your tokens this week, and who do you suspect Daniel might have given her tokens to?
I think it's pretty obvious she's going to have given most, if not all of them, to Robin. My only hope is that she'd used a bunch to save herself over the past couple of weeks. And hopefully maybe she even split them up, but even then she probably split them up with like Dre and Hunter. Um, it sucks. I was just talking to Zeeves about how he had a good relationship with Danielle, and I'm like, that sucks because he totally could have gotten her tokens if he hadn't literally been the one to nominate her for eviction. I don't know my strategy for tokens yet this round exactly. I definitely would love one of me, Ari, or Vlyn to get the power, or I wouldn't even mind like Zeeves, Leah, or Hex. I just want to make sure that Robin, Dre, and Hunter don't get it. So I think whatever I do end up using it as a strategy will be to basically just prevent them from getting them. Um, Lynn and I were talking about how this is potentially, since it's the last week of jury, that this could be the last week of the tokens twist. That didn't get officially announced like I was hoping it would be in announcements. But if we go based off that assumption, I think it would be smart to just go all in on somebody. So if that's something Ari and Vlyn are comfortable with, I think that might end up being the strategy to just be going all in on someone to ensure that they have the most tokens and get the sponsorship and that it doesn't go into the hands of like Robin or um, Hunter, especially.
All right, and lastly, since we last spoken, you and the A-List Alliance collaborated together to, solve the guessing game. Glenn announced he ended up being the one to find the power. How do you feel about the power he received? How do you feel about Glenn being the one to find it? And how do you think it affects your game moving forward?
Oh, I'm gagged. That was such a powerful moment. It was really cool. It was like such a high. Um, obviously we like collabed together to try and narrow down the guesses. I think it helped that we had three people on it. Originally, Ari had brought it to me. And once we kind of figured out how the guessing game worked, we were like, okay, I think we should bring this to Vlyn because it definitely makes the most sense to have as many people that we trust working on it together. And by having three people guess, we managed to narrow it down in just a matter of days. Um, Vlyn got the power, which I definitely don't mind. Obviously, I would have loved it in my hands, but there's also the potential that could make me a target. So I don't mind it being in Vlyn's hands. I almost kind of would have preferred Ari's just because Ari is like my number one, but I certainly don't mind that Vlyn was the one to get it. Um, and obviously, that power, as Vlyn told us, is apparently the Final Four power of veto, which I was panicking about in this game because to me, like Final Four POV is such an important competition, and to have a twist announced that there won't be a competition was really scary, especially for a player like me who's been taken out at fourth several times for being such a big threat. So to find out that that's what the guessing game led up to, it was kind of a relief to know that there is going to be a way to like survive Final Four if you don't win HOH. Obviously, like the most ideal situation would be me, Vlyn, and Ari making it to Final Four and one of us winning head of household and using that veto on the remaining one. Whether or not that's actually going to happen, we'll see. It doesn't help that I think like Vlyn and Ari are two of the biggest threats in the game. But I'm also like, I don't know, I'm really having fun playing with them and I'm kind of feeling like loyal-ish. So I may just like write it out with them. We'll see. Hopefully they're feeling the same thing. But it's really cool that we found that power. It's a relief if Vlyn does get voted out. It's like a legacy advantage, so it can be handed down. So hopefully he could give it to me or Ari if he is voted out. At this point in the game, I'm not gonna like target him so that he does pass it down. I would rather keep it a secret, like that only the three of us knows, and because I think otherwise it just gets too dangerous if that information is out there. So hopefully we can just stay true to our trio, which right now I'm getting the vibes that we will. I don't really know if Ari or Vlyn are sneakier players or not. I definitely have been in the past, but so far the way this game has been going, I'm kind of feeling very long-term loyal to them. So hopefully the having the final four power veto already in our possession works to our favor, and we can get far enough for it to matter for our games. But yeah, it was super cool. It was super exciting. Probably like the highlight of this org so far was that moment. Well, and kind of like this whole gag this week was also a highlight. But yeah, it was really cool finding it. Would have been nice to find it myself, but it's in somebody's hands that I trust, and I don't mind that at all at this point in the game.
All right. Well, thank you, Swan. That's all the questions that I have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. Bye.
Bye, y'all.